So a friend of the channel, good old Virgil Walker from G3 Ministries, did a did a blog called The Decline of Marriage, a glimpse into an unsettling trend. I just want to go over this again. I don't think my first video was really that good. I'm sorry about it. So I'm going to just go over this again with you all. I do want to encourage you all. Link will be down in the description. I'm going to drop the link in the chat as well. Check out this video from Virgil. He did an excellent job. Excellent job. I really want, hopefully you all will get something good from it. So check out the video. I'm going to just read over a couple of parts that I really found beneficial, that I did not want to overlook and just kind of neglect. I felt like I did not, again, as I said before in my original video, I don't think I did a good job. So let's just look at it together. All right. Richard Baxter, and that's from 1615 to 1691, as a Puritan minister of the 17th century, penned his thoughts on the covenant of marriage, writing, listen to this. It's a mercy to have a faithful friend that loveth you entirely, to whom you may open your mind and communicate your affairs. And it is a mercy to have so near a friend, to be a helper to your soul and to stir up in you the grace of God. And man, when you look at, sometimes, I know, hey, if you've been married 10 minutes, you probably feel like, yo, sometimes it gets a little dicey sometimes. Let's just be honest. Lady Dear World Christian would definitely come in and say amen to that. But man, when you think about the fact that God has given you this husband, God has given you this wife to help steer you and to help shape you into the character of Christ, to make you more like Christ, man, that's amazing. That is a real blessing. And let's continue right here. Unlike Baxter, in his time, today, the covenant of marriage is not held in high regard. Amen to that. I mean, it is goodness gracious. It is we see it as it's definitely not in high regard at all. Many women remain single longer, seeking independence and pursuing the same career goals as men. I do think this is something that needs to be said out loud. And I do think we should be a little bit more honest about this. We are raising our girls, and I have 2 girls, to literally compete with the men that they're looking to marry. I don't think we realize that. I don't think we're being honest and saying, you know what? It might not be good for me to teach my daughter to go after the career that her future husband might have. That could probably be problematic. But continue. Many women, and moreover, fewer men are seeing enough advantages to marry nowadays. These men believe that the value women bring as wives and mothers is drastically declined. I got to admit, I got to agree with them. I got to agree with Virgil here. I'd love to say that he's wrong, but a lot of the time, ask your, this is how you can check this. Ask your single friend, whether it be as a single woman, just ask them, hey, what does your future husband want? What is your future husband? What is he looking for that he's going to find you? Just ask him, and they will give you a list. And then what you do is you just say, okay, I appreciate that. Who told you that though? Who told you that? Who told you that that's what your future husband wants? And most times it will be their own selves or their sisters or their girlfriends and their girl clique. And that's problematic because a lot of the time it's not what men want. And if you ask a woman what a man wants, and then you go ask a man what he wants in a woman, you'll see that they're night and day. They are night and day. They're not the same. And it is problematic, and it's sad to see, because especially if you're like me and you're married, you want to see other people married, especially if you have good friends and, guys from college or your wife's friends from church or whatnot. You want everybody to get married. You just want people to be married. That's true. Married people want people to be married. It is true, because it's hard to have friends sometimes with singles because they're just doing different things. So you don't want to cramp their style because you're doing things with the family and they want to be somewhere where they can meet somebody. So you do want them to be married. So let's go. Additionally, they fear the risk of losing assets and damaging their relationships with the future children in the event of a divorce, which occurs about 50% of marriages. Consequently, they view marriage as a dangerous proposition. Wow. We went from God's beautiful and perfect design for bringing us and shaping us into the character of Christ to a dangerous proposition. Man, look how wicked our world is, that we would take what God literally gave us as an example of Christ's relationship to the church. We get to emulate that with our husband and wife relationships, and we've turned it into a dangerous proposition. Man, may God have mercy. All right. Finding a life partner has diminished in importance as couples increasingly delay or forego marriage altogether. The decline of marriage rates can be attributed to the evolving societal norms, or rather roles, of women, the perceived concerns that men associate with marriage, and the myriad of new options provided by social media that enable both genders to bypass the once obligatory rites of passage. All right, let's go check out a couple things. So I'm going to jump through a couple of these sections, but one of the sections is, of course, titled Social Media's Impact on Marriage. If you're married, hey, if you're single, I think we all can agree social media has had an impact on the way we deal with humans, whether that be in a marital relationship, dating relationship, coworkers, enemies, frenemies, fill in the blanks, applying for a job. I mean, every way that social media has impacted just about everything. The way we shop, what we shop for, how we get food. I mean, there's not very much that we can say social media has not had some impact, good or bad, on. But when considering the impact of social media on marriage trends, it's impossible to ignore its influence. With 54% of social media users being women, they utilize the platform 2.8 times more than men. Now, in the palm of your hand, a woman can receive unprecedented male attention. And I think that's something that we all need to keep in mind. Historically, a woman might receive attention from within her circle of 150 friends, with 45% being male. Now, a woman can post captivating images on her social media platforms, leading to thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, and inbox messages from men worldwide. So instead of it being in your own little fiefdom, in your own little hood, now your hood is intergalactic. Now, with her social media apps, a woman can experience an unparalleled dopamine rush, previously unmatched in her everyday social context. This new reality diminishes her dependence on in-person social interactions with men, intensifying her addiction to cell phones, as social media promptly gratifies her needs and desires. Morgan Stanley predicts that by the year 2030, so that's in literally 6 years, 45% of women aged 25 to 44 will be single and childless. So I'm doing the math. 6 years. Okay, man, that's pretty intense. Social media's impact on men and women impacts men and women, but some trends mainly affect women. It's worth noting that the United States has 3 million more women than men. That I didn't know that. That's kind of wild. When considering unmarried women for marrying ages 18 to 35, the national ratio reveals that there are, on average, 90 men to 100 women. So that means basically there's going to be there's 10 more. So that's a 10% increase in that particular age range. Yeah. Morgan Stanley predicts that, again, in 2030, 45% of women aged 25 to 44 will be single and childless. However, many women disregard these statistics, thinking they are the exception to any rule, and that the men they desire will be available when they are ready for relationships. I think that's something we definitely should be encouraging our women to not to fall victim to, because that's crazy. All right. So this is the section on social media. He gives some great statistics and some wonderful ideas. So let's jump into the next one, which is the church girl struggle. So my platform is for Christians primarily. And so, of course, church girls is a real issue. You go to church and we see that, of course, there are far more women than there are men in most traditional churches. So let's continue. When exploring the topic of marriage in evangelical circles, the challenges women encounter are from various angles. On Sunday, the majority of church services are attended by 61% of women and 39% men. And I think that's probably more true than false. The age demographics most impacted by the statistic are widows or unmarrieds, 18 to 25-year-olds. Among the available individuals aged 18 to 35, a significant portion of them once claimed to be devout followers of religious practices. However, after a college education, they no longer identify with any religious affiliation. And, we've seen this, we've heard this, that, kids go off to college and they get converted into different ideologies and different thought processes. That's just where discipleship is going to have to come, and answering those tough questions and not shooing away very tough questions and thorny topics with your kids. We have to be willing, we have to be able to jump in here and have a spirited conversation with our children about topics that they're going to face when they get out into the public square. Because if they don't have an answer for why they are Christian, they don't have an answer for various and sundry questions that they get hit with, then they may very well capitulate. They very, very well may stumble and buckle under the pressure of not being able to answer it or give a proper defense for it. Because again, some people might not like the answer, but you did answer it. So feeling disheartened by these obstacles, young Christian women, 18 to 35, are actively searching for alternatives beyond the confines of the church. Some are pursuing relationships with non-believers, participating in hookup culture, or even stepping away from the church while still holding on to their Christian faith. And how many women do we hear this from? And men as well. I'm spiritual, not religious. I have a relationship with God. I don't go to church. Something like that. The struggle for Christian women in the dating realm is multifaceted as it pertains to dating. Far too many Christian women anxious for marriage drift away from relying on God's sovereignty instead of seeking godly guidance from the men in authority in their lives, their fathers or the local church pastor. They often pursue husband hunting on their own. This often leads to crossing paths with men who claim to be Christians, but whose actions reveal a stronger commitment to worldly desires rather than spiritual growth. This depravity between a professed faith and an actual lifestyle, this is something that we definitely got to unpack with our kids. Just saying that you're a Christian doesn't mean anything. I'm sorry. There has to be some lifestyle that demonstrates that. Adds another layer of complexity to the challenges faced by young Christian women in the dating scene. And I know he's saying women, but I think it also applies to young men as well. And I kind of breezed through that. I do want to encourage you to check it out. This one right here, I think, is really true because we hear this a lot. Marriage is no longer solely driven by women aspiring to be wives. That opening salvo right there. Nowadays, women pursue fulfillment beyond traditional family roles, focusing instead on higher education and careers while abandoning homemaking and child rearing skills. And I'm going to submit to you Ebony K. Williams tomorrow. I have a video coming up on Ebony K. Williams. I'll have another one on Wednesday or Friday. She's a perfect example. She's the archetype of this type of idea that she wants a wedding, but she is not interested in being a wife. She wants the ceremony, but she has no desire to submit to a husband whatsoever. It is a partnership, it's a business transaction, whatever. But let's keep it rolling. Women surpass men in college admissions 60 to 40. They exhibit higher graduation rates with a significant 10-point advantage. Feminist teaches women to be self-reliant, treating marriage as unnecessary. Remember before the grace that Baxter talked about, or optional only after securing a solid career or getting the bag, as people like to say. Pursuing college is no longer a means to find a husband, but a necessary pathway for a career with no family in sight. You have to keep reminding your young girls, have to keep reminding those young ladies at your church, and men too, about family and the importance of family. Because please understand, if a young lady makes $300,000 a year and she wants a husband that makes $300,000 a year, I can guarantee you, as sure as my name is Jason, that man that makes $300,000 a year is not looking for a woman that makes $300,000 a year. He doesn't want $600,000 a year income in his home because he don't have a family. I'm just telling you. It also provides a sense of security if one encounters the wrong husband. I mean, there's truth there. Now, there is truth there. There are some bad actors, and we want to just point that out. There's some bad dudes out there that women do. Yeah, you would run into that. There's truth. However, I think having a good foundation for yourself and having good guards around you, aka your father, brothers, uncles, pastors, and leaders in your church to help you sort these guys out, I think is going to be key. And know his family, learn his family. However, women are now choosing marriage later in life. In 2000, the median age of for women to marry was 25. That was in 2000. So we're talking about 24 years ago. As of 2022, the average rate had risen to 28.6 years. So it's almost a 3 years and 5 months, I guess. I guess that probably is what that is. 3 years and 5 month jump. That's a lot. That's a big jump. Now I can't be too proud. I think we got married when we were 26 and 27. But that's kind of wild. In today's world, women have more opportunities than ever before. Still, the message of female empowerment and gender equality is instilled from a young age. This encompasses breaking away from traditional gender roles, pursuing career opportunities, and embracing the freedom to express one's sexuality in a manner that feels right for each individual woman. Every decision carries consequences, from which can be profound. However, acknowledging this reality in conversations with women may prove to be dangerous. Men have taken note of these changes, while the societal expectations of men to fulfill traditional roles as providers and protectors and leaders within the household has persisted. Women have moved away from their traditional roles of homemakers, caretakers, and children, and submissive wives. So I do think there's I'm sure you've seen it, where you'll ask women, hey, what do you want your husband to do or a man to do if somebody comes and disrespects you in public? They'll quickly say they want you to defend them. They want you to beat them down. They want you to stand between them, whatever like that. They have no problem with that. But then if you say on the same note, well, if you're at home and the man asks you to make him a sandwich, it's not going to happen. So you do realize that there's a disconnect in that regard. Let us keep this game rolling. In 1867, the divorce rate was 5%. My goodness, that is so sad. But by 1967, so just 100 years, it had skyrocketed to 50%. So a 45% jump in 100 years. Scholars attribute this increase to women entering the workforce, giving them more independence in difficult marriages. Now, again, and I don't think Virgil by any means is making light of difficult marriages, but I do think there needs to be some proper definitions of what is a difficult marriage, so on and so forth. I think everybody can say they have a difficult marriage at some point or another. Despite increasing opportunities for women, many still desire marriage. In fact, 61% of women express this desire. However, women are now choosing to marry later in life. In 2000, the median age, we just read this, the choice to delay is causing many to ponder whether women's true desire lies in a wedding rather than a lifelong partnership and marriage. Increasingly, the median age for men to marry has also reached a new high of 30.5 years. I don't know what the 0.5 is. I don't know if that's a fifth. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have no idea. I don't know what that 0.5 is. Just like I don't know what that 0.6 is. All right. Men have some very unrealistic expectations, and he does say some great things there. I want to submit that to you. I'm going to skip that. I want to encourage you to go back and read the article. But let's get here because this is the end of it. And this is where I really wanted to land the plane. When we contemplate the enormity of the issues and their influence on family dynamics and even birth rates, the solution does not present itself readily. For those of us committed to the church, it is all too common to assign blame to the church as easy target and devise superficial, pragmatic initiatives that aim to bring boys and girls together in the hope that nature will take its course. While the desire to do something may appease some, the solution to these appeals is never self-sustained or capable of reversing the magnitude of the downward slide. I think anybody who's been in church long enough and has seen youth group where they're like intentionally trying to get the boys and girls together, you all know how much of a fail this is. So let's continue. Instead of an appeal for all evangelicalism, I encourage those seeking marriage to explore Richard Baxter's timeless wisdom. As a Puritan writer and theologian, Baxter offered invaluable insights into marriage, theological and practical aspects. His writings on the mutual duties of husbands and wives provides a strong foundation for understanding the covenant of marriage and offers practical steps for building healthy relationships. These steps should be considered long before entering matrimony. While the dating phase relationships can place couples into a state of blind bliss, Baxter warns couples this: do not forget that each of you is diseased persons, full of infirmities, and therefore expect the fruit of the infirmities in each other. And do not act surprised about it, as if you had never known it before. Decide to be patient with one another, remembering that you took one another as sinful, frail, imperfect persons, and not as angels or as blameless and perfect. And it's Practical Works by Baxter. A couple's progress in their relationship and becomes more comfortable with each other, unrealistic expectations emerge. Disagreements fueled by pride can have devastating effects on a relationship. Baxter also provides instructions in this regard when he writes, both husband and wives must mortify their pride and strong self-centered feelings. These are the feelings that cause intolerance and insensitivity. You must pray and labor for a humble, meek, and quiet spirit. A proud heart is troubled and provoked by every word that seems to assault your self-esteem. I got to underline that thing right there, because if that's not an amen right there, I don't know what is. I don't know why this is taking so long. Puritan writers like Baxter constantly associated love with duty, effectively intertwining emotion with action. The connection ensured a profound sense of purpose and commitment. Baxter wrote this note: remember that justice commands you to love one that has forsaken all the world for you, one who has contended to be the companion of your labors and sufferings and to be a sharer of all things with you. And that must be your companion until death. And this is his Practical Works as well. And this is finally Baxter writes, we should be very concerned to know what the duties of our relationships are. And how can we please God in our relationships right here? Because see, that's what I think a lot of us miss. And I miss it too. And I got to remember that. I'm not doing this to please my wife. I'm not doing this to please my kids even. I'm doing this to please God in my relationship. So my duty to my church, I do that to please God. My duty to my kids, I do that to please God. Study and do your part, and God will certainly do his. The main matter in which a husband and wife should make a conscience of duty is their mutual love and forbearance. This is the great business of married persons, to study each other's welfare and to help it forward by all means possible. And as we finish this up, it In a world where selfishness reigns supreme, Baxter reminds us that marriage should focus on mutual love, not just on individual desires. By emphasizing the importance of duty toward one another, he highlights the importance of selflessness and sacrifice in a successful marriage. We would do well to heed these old answers to new questions. This is Virgil Walker's article, The Decline of Marriage. I really think you would benefit from checking it out. I dropped the link in the description. And if you like, when you click on it, you can hear Virgil read it, which is kind of cool. He did a great job. So I'm going to drop that in the chat as well if it hasn't already.